On the day of the wedding, I was publicly humiliated by a drunk man. I was so angry that my whole body trembled, and I thought it would protect me for a lifetime. The groom stood there indifferently in the storm. Frowning, she warned me to be sensible and generous. It was only at that moment that I realized. Marrying a weakling who bullies the weak and fears the strong, 10,000 times worse than breaking off the engagement on the spot. On the day of the wedding, I'm wearing a custom-made wedding dress worth 30,000 yuan. But by the time I reached the third table to offer a toast, was openly molested by the groom's distant cousin uncle. His face turned red from drinking. The mouth, stained with brownish smoke, suddenly came closer. The foul smell of low-quality liquor and sweat smoke hit the nose and mouth immediately, before I could even react.
His hand rough as tree bark.
It simply slid down my bare shoulders. Provocatively, he pinched my slender waist hard. He was reeking of alcohol. A face covered in trembling flab. What a laughable sight. The bride is really beautiful. What a slender waist. Have a drink with my uncle. If you marry into our family, you need to be sensible and understand your role, okay? I instinctively stepped back. The glass in my hand was shaking violently. Yet, with his greasy beer belly, he kept pressing forward step by step. Several of the groom's relatives around didn't even try to stop them. Instead, they started laughing and making noise along with them. Someone started whistling in a rude manner. Some people even held their phones up to take pictures. The camera was pressed right up against my face. Shame and anger surged up like a volcano. It's burning my face so badly. Tears welled up in my eyes. I bit my lower lip tightly. Looking at the man standing beside her, I've been in a relationship for 2 years. The groom who just exchanged rings. Yet he had a frown on his face. But those eyes of his filled with dissatisfaction. It wasn't that drunkard who was acting rude that I was targeting, but it was directed at me. Even when facing that of my uncle on the table, those disgusting smiling faces, he bent slightly forward. A sycophantic smile appeared on his face. Uncle, as long as you enjoy yourself, that's all that matters. Let's drink more. The moment she turned her head and grabbed my arm, the tenderness in his eyes was completely gone. Only warnings and disdain remain. His fingers were like iron tongs. The force was so strong it almost crushed my bones. He pushed me half a step in the coldest direction, while lowering his voice to accuse me. Be more generous and stop making a fuss. My uncle is an elder. I'm just joking with you on this happy day. Let's quickly raise a toast. I'm sorry for my mistake. Don't let everyone make fun of you. I felt as though I'd been struck by lightning. Frozen in place, looking at this man with a blurred face before me. Suddenly, the conversation from last week echoed in my ears. That day, I worked overtime until late at night, being followed by someone. Scared to death, she ran home crying the whole way. At that moment, he held me in his arms out of concern for me, swearing through gritted teeth, "Whoever dares to touch you again from now on." I ruined him. It turns out his bravery is nothing but a show when everything's calm. His incompetence became apparent during the storm. Why should I put up with it? Why should I be the one to apologize? My voice is trembling terribly. He saw that I wasn't obedient as usual. Frustrated and angry, frowning tightly. So many guests here today. Can you please act rationally for once? He drank too much. Why bother arguing with a drunkard? Aren't you ashamed enough already? It turns out, in the eyes of my newlywed husband, I stood up to fight back against the injustice I suffered. That's the utterly ridiculous joke. Just when the atmosphere at the scene became extremely tense, my in-laws can't sit still anymore. I'm just messing around, you damn fool. My brother rushed over with a roar. A punch smashed the old man's hand apart. Protect me tightly behind you. My dad stood up, his face as pale as iron. My mom, with tears in her eyes, helped with her body. I blocked out the mocking looks around me. A few of the men at the table seemed to have some common sense. Even the young people can't stand it anymore. Tossed it around in a messy manner. Pin that drunkard who's constantly cursing down into his chair. The once festive hall instantly turned into a complete mess. The crisp sound of a wine glass breaking. The harsh friction sounds of moving tables and chairs blended together. Tear the dignity of this wedding to shreds. Right in the midst of this chaos, my mother-in-law rushed over in a hurry. She grabbed my hand. A thick, stiff red envelope. Pushed it into my arms without asking. Her long, sharp nails scratched my wrist, leaving behind a trail of burning red bloodstains. She wore a polite smile on her face. Raised the volume, trying to suppress me with the authority of being an elder. Good child, be obedient and take it quickly. This is a gift from your uncle to welcome you. People in my hometown like to make a big deal out of weddings. Don't take it to heart. So many distinguished guests from both families are here today. Don't act like a child. If it really gets chaotic, what's at stake is the reputation of both our families. Generosity is truly generosity. I looked down at the stiff red envelope in my arms. It just seemed like a red-hot iron. It's so hot that my chest feels stuffy. Apparently, according to their logic, my dignity and innocence are worth nothing. These red envelopes worth a few thousand yuan. It turns out that what they call considering the bigger picture. It's simply trying to erase my grievances. It destroyed all their vanity. As long as I accept this payoff to keep quiet, everyone can then continue to raise their glasses in celebration. I slowly raised my head. Over the mother-in-law's shoulder, looking at the groom standing behind. He didn't even dare to look me in the eyes. Deliberately turned my head away to look at the chandelier in the hall. A cold, expressionless look on his face for that single second. Countless fragmented moments from the past flooded my mind. Going to his house to meet his parents for the first time. After dinner, my grandmother naturally made me do chores. Washing the dishes for over a dozen people in the family. She sat peacefully on the sofa, playing with her phone. Pretend I don't see it. I worked overtime until 10 p.m. Cried to him on the phone about the injustices at work. He just frowned and perfunctorily dealt with it. Who doesn't have a hard time at work? Don't be so pretentious. When the two parties couldn't reach an agreement on the dowry, he desperately pinched my hand under the table, whispering words of advice to me. My mom doesn't have it easy. Can't you give in a little for my sake? It turns out there were signs of this all along. It's me who's been deceiving myself all along. Weaving lies that marriage will make everything better at weddings. I was publicly molested while wearing my sacred wedding dress. He not only didn't dare to blame the other person, instead they became accomplices. This is just the beginning. If we compromise today, in the decades to come, amidst the everyday necessities of life, I still have to be judged by them based on morality. How many times should I be magnanimous when it comes to kidnappings? Such a coward. How dare I entrust the rest of my life to him? The moment of realization, that pent-up feeling in my chest, anger and resentment suddenly disappeared. What takes its place is death. Ordinary silence and clarity. I sneered. Before anyone could react, I raised my hand. Take that thick stack of red envelopes. Using all one's strength, it hit the groom's face, which was covered with indifference, with full force. A crisp snap. Red envelopes scattered everywhere. Pink banknotes were like countless loud slaps to the face. Slaps were thrown at him and his mother-in-law without any warning. Once again, it spilled all over the floor. The people sitting at the nearby tables who were originally watching the show, the guests gasped in shock, pointing and criticizing others. All the whispering was directed at the groom. What about the mother-in-law? Those people who keep saying how important face is. The moment the bill hits the ground, let out a scream. Squatting on the ground with my buttocks stuck out, fumbling around to pick up the money, looking at the embarrassed state of mother and child. I just feel disgusted. I carefully removed the diamond ring. Just threw it into the trash can next to me, said coldly. I'm not getting married after all. I thought I'd go hysterical. But when one truly gives up hope, my heart was surprisingly completely calm, without a single ripple. Only then did the groom open his eyes and look at me. The complexion changed from red to purple. The veins on your temples are bulging. Have you gone mad? So many relatives are watching today. If you break off the engagement, where will my family's face be put? Look, right up to this moment. The root of his anger isn't still the injuries I've suffered. It's his cheap sense of face that's important. I'm still more important. I asked softly. He stared at me intently, opened his mouth, yet not a single word was uttered for half a day. The answer is right in front of us. I'm done with the nonsense. Lifting the heavy hem of the wedding dress, a resolute turn away, strolled confidently toward the main entrance of the banquet hall. Sister, don't look back. Brother, I'll take you home. My brother shouted and rushed forward to grab the hem of my skirt. Mom and Dad stood on either side of me, protecting me closely. The man's elders had pale, grim expressions. And that person who started it all, the drunkard, had already almost sobered up from fear. With a pale face, crouched in the corner. Everything behind me is in complete chaos. The mother-in-law sat down, slapping her legs, crying and wailing loudly. The groom rushed over to my name, furious. But I keep going step by step. Walked extremely fast and steadily, heels stepping on the red carpet, amidst a deep resonant sound. The moment I pushed open the hotel's revolving doors, the scorching sunlight poured down on them mercilessly. I reached up and pulled. Ripped off the veil from her head, a symbol of submission. Threw it forcefully into the trash can by the roadside. That custom-made wedding dress worth 30,000 yuan. The hem of the skirt was covered in hotel floor dirt. Confetti and sewage from the wedding celebration. It looks mottled and disheveled. But I wore it while walking in the sunlight. Yet I felt so light that I wanted to fly. It was an unprecedented level of freedom and ease. The situation has gotten quite serious. In the time that followed, countless so-called veterans have criticized me. They say I'm too impulsive. We've come this far, all the way to the wedding. What's there to be upset about that can't be discussed behind closed doors at home? But I know better than anyone. Rather than marrying the wrong person, in a period of losing dignity, being cut by a dull knife in marriage, the little face saving that was lost when the engagement was called off, not even a single speck of dust to be found. Temporary embarrassment. It's still better than living a lifetime of grievances. Later, I heard that family completely became part of the circle of relatives and acquaintances. The biggest joke among neighbors during tea times and after meals. That arrogant groom started calling me non-stop. Childhood friend's essay. Even on a stormy night with heavy rain, kneeling in front of my family's old house, crying bitterly and slapping oneself across the face. Please give him one more chance. But I didn't even lift my eyelids. Simply blocked all his contact information. Because by then I had already moved to another city. And in the 3rd month after the annulment, successfully received the promotion letter from the headquarters. Standing in front of the huge floor-to-ceiling windows of the new apartment, looking at the bustling neon night scene outside, I'm incredibly grateful for the decision I made that day. That day, I was wearing a wedding dress. Personally shattered that false sense of dignity, step by step, from a situation that almost destroyed me, got out of the marriage quagmire in the second half of my life. I never regret anything. If there really was a button to go back in time in life, let me stand again. I would still choose to keep that one. The red envelopes were flung right in their faces. Then lift the hem of the skirt, turned around and left without looking back. Because I finally understand. The ones who truly love you will stand in front of you. I'll shield you from all the storms in the world. Instead of standing coldly in the storm, while acting as an accomplice, while hypocritically advising you to be magnanimous. From a net worth of over 50 million to debts of 15 million. I only used it for 2 years. I once thought my husband was having an affair with another woman. I only found out later. Truth is 100 times more terrifying than infidelity. My name is 𝓲𝓾𝓫. My husband's name is 𝓤𝓾𝓫. Before 2022, our lives are the envy of everyone around us. 𝓤𝓾𝓫 and I were college classmates. Got married right after graduation, crowding together in a rental apartment to do cross-border e-commerce. During those years, we only slept 4 hours a day, selecting products for listing, packing, and responding to customer messages, growing from a small Taobao store to an independent website. Once again, I've caught the wave of cross-border e-commerce. Business keeps growing like a snowball. I'll always remember that Double 11 in 2021. The sales figures in the back end are skyrocketing. In the end, it's settled on one of us, an unimaginable number of digits. That night, we sat on the warehouse floor. Next to it are piles of packages. 𝓤𝓾𝓫 held me in his arms and said, Man, we've made it. Later, we were in Hangzhou. Qianjiangnu City purchased a Riverview apartment of over 200 square meters. Also acquired 2 more shops to rent out. Still holding over 30 million in liquid capital, including fixed assets. Our net worth has already exceeded 50 million. What's that concept? It means that as long as we steadily maintaining the existing business, even if there's no further expansion, in this lifetime, including my son who just started elementary school, everyone can live a decent and composed life. Everyone around me says I'm blessed. Achieved financial freedom at a young age. My husband is capable and takes good care of the family. I thought the same way at that time. All the hardships I've gone through were worth it. I gradually stepped back from the front lines. Left the company's day-to-day operations too, following our long-serving employees who've been with us for years. Focus on spending time with the child myself. Doing Pilates. Having afternoon tea with my sister. 𝓤𝓾𝓫 is still in charge of the company, but obviously much more sober than before. He always says that there's never enough money to make. It's time to enjoy life. The first year or so, our days are truly like being in honey. The family went on a road trip around the area over the weekend. Travel abroad during the long holiday. My social circle is filled with moments of peace and tranquility. The problems probably started at the beginning of 2023. 𝓤𝓾𝓫 said that cross-border e-commerce is becoming increasingly competitive. The profit is as thin as paper. Want to switch to something else? He said one of his college roommates works in the primary market. Invested in several projects and got several times the return. Want to give it a try too? I know nothing about investing. But thinking that 𝓤𝓾𝓫 has always been steady in his actions, it doesn't hurt to try with some spare money. Agreed. Looking back now, that's the first step into the abyss. At first, he was indeed very cautious. Only 1 million was invested. It's just to secure a spot. Learn. Half a year has passed. He excitedly told me that the project had been acquired. Tripled. He was especially happy that day. Take me to buy it. I really don't want to part with it. The Hermes bag I bought. This is the power of capital. 100 times better than working tirelessly in e-commerce. Since then, 𝓤𝓾𝓫 seemed like a completely different person. He no longer goes to the company. It's enough that the company has professional managers in charge. He needs to focus on investing. He converted the study into an office. The walls were covered with all kinds of things. Incomprehensible charts and project BPs. There are constant phone calls every day. All they talk about is valuation. Track exit cycle. He started to travel on business more frequently. Flying to Beijing today, flying to Shanghai tomorrow. Said they were going to check out the project. Meet with investors. I feel uneasy inside. But every time I ask him, he always analyzes things with confidence and certainty. It's all about cutting-edge technology. State support for new energy industries. Sure to make a profit, no risk at all. He also took me to a few so-called investor parties. The whole room was filled with people in suits and leather shoes. Projects worth hundreds of millions everywhere one looks. It's so dazzling that my eyes can't take it in. I gradually felt relieved too. But something went wrong later on. The family's liquid funds were transferred away one by one. He always says that the project needs to be co-invested in. The fund needs to increase its holdings. I requested to see the accounts. He took out a stack of contracts and agreements. It's said to be a product from a legitimate organization. There's management and supervision in place. I can't understand those technical terms. Looking at the official seal printed in black on white paper, I didn't think about it any further. During that time, he seemed like a completely different person. People who used to be gentle and patient now often lose their temper violently. My son accidentally spilled milk on the computer.
He yelled at the child in public, causing the child to cry.
That was the first time he lost his temper with the child. I had a huge argument with him. He slammed the door and left. Didn't come back all night. What's even weirder is the phone itself. Password sharing in the past. Left lying around carelessly. Now it never leaves my side. Brings it into the bathroom even when taking a shower. The screen is always facing down. While he's asleep, I'd like to take a look. Only then did I realize that the password had already been changed. Women's intuition is always terrifyingly accurate. I'm starting to suspect he has someone else outside of our relationship. It's also the case of having money but not needing to go to work. Spending the whole day socializing outside. It would be strange if nothing happened. I checked his pockets. Checked the dash cam footage. Check each item on the credit card statement carefully. Sure enough, there are plenty of high-end hotels and records of luxury goods purchases. Those things never appeared before me at all. Complaining to my best friend. She says it's a rule that men become bad when they have money. Keep a close eye on my wallet. Don't end up losing both your money and personal belongings. I was extremely depressed during that time. Full of random thoughts in my head. There are more and more arguments. The way he looked at me never changed from impatient to evasive. Occasionally, there's also a hint of indescribable guilt. In my opinion, that guilt is irrefutable evidence of infidelity. What really broke me down was, it was a Friday night.
He said he was going to Shanghai to meet with investors.
Won't come back to live here. I somehow found myself driving there. The hotel he often went to. Sat in the lobby for over 2 hours. I really waited for him to show up. He isn't alone. Accompanied by a young and beautiful woman. The two of them walked into the elevator, chatting and laughing. At that moment, I felt like the world was spinning around me. All the blood in my body went cold. I didn't rush forward. Instead, I drove home. Sat on the sofa all night long. I thought a lot about it. Those years when we endured hardships together. Missing our children. How to divide property in case of divorce. At dawn, I've made up my mind. I want to find the best divorce lawyer. Collect evidence of his infidelity. Make him leave the house with nothing. He didn't return until the afternoon of the next day. Reeking of alcohol. I'm laying it all out now. I told you everything I saw. Filed for divorce. He was stunned. Then his face turned deathly pale in an instant. Keep explaining that it's the project team's public relations effort. Just having a meal and discussing things? Don't let me misunderstand. But his evasive gaze can't deceive anyone. I don't believe a single word of it. We had a really bad fight during that time. I moved to sleep in the guest room. I've hired a lawyer. Preparing to file for divorce. But the lawyer reminded me. First, figure out what assets you have at home. Prevent the other party from transferring assets. That's when I realized it. Most of the money in the family is in his hands. What exactly is the situation with those investments? I really know nothing at all. I started secretly checking the accounts. You don't know until you check. That check almost cost me my life. The several million in working capital in the joint account had long since run out. He also used those 2 shops as collateral for loans. I asked a friend at the bank to check my credit report. He has several credit loans under his name, plus some small loans I'm not aware of. In total, it's over 8 million. I rushed into the study like a madman. All his files. turned upside down. Those so-called primary markets. Investment contracts can be either genuine or fake. Honestly, there's hardly anything left after all the losses. More are records of virtual currency transactions. Contract closeout notice. Reminders for additional margin payments. I also found a loan note. 3 million borrowed from a private lending company. 3% monthly interest. At that moment, my whole body was trembling. Can't even stand steadily. There's absolutely no infidelity at all. There's no glamorous investment involved either. Hotel expenses were what he used to discuss with the usurer regarding interest rates. Luxury goods are used for giving gifts, asking for favors, and borrowing money. The so-called primary market investments did indeed yield some profits in the early stages. But that little money couldn't satisfy his insatiable appetite. Later, he dealt in virtual currency contracts. 100x leverage. Lost several million in one night. If you lose money, you want to get your losses back. To get your money back, you need to pay more. He started hiding from me and spending the money from our household. After filling in the working capital information, the shop was mortgaged as well. Taking out various loans. The more losses, the more borrowing. The more I borrow, the more I lose. Gamblers with bloodshot eyes. In the end, they even borrowed money at usurious rates. Those late-night calls weren't made to lovers. It's a collection threat. His bad temper isn't because he's changed his heart. Every day when I open my eyes, I'm faced with huge interest amounts and repayment dates. The mind has already collapsed. When I threw all the evidence in front of him, instead he became calm. It was as though they had been waiting for this day all along. He didn't make any excuses. Just knelt down in front of me with a thud. A grown man, crying like a child.
He said he just wanted to give it a try at first.
After making a few profits, I thought I was the chosen one. Thinking that with my own brain, I can do it. Surely can make a fortune in the cryptocurrency world. He said he wanted to take our assets to the next level. I want to provide a better life for my child and me. He never expected it to turn out like this. He said he didn't dare tell me after suffering losses. Afraid I'll look down on him. Afraid the family will fall apart. He always thinks that one more try will be enough to turn things around. Just hold on a little longer. Another wave of market activity. Then I can make back everything. But the market never shows mercy to gamblers. The more you bet, the worse the outcome. By the end, he wasn't making any money at all. It's just moving money from one place to cover another. Borrow new debt to pay off old debt. The hole gets bigger and bigger the more you poke at it. I asked him exactly how much he owed. He lowered his head and said a number. 15 million? After hearing that, I slapped him right in the face. My hands are numb. From a net worth of 50 million to debts of 15 million. It took less than 2 years. I have no idea how I got through those days. Debt collection calls were coming through to my phone. Ugly words, one after another. I don't dare let the child know. I don't dare let the elders on both sides know either. Forcing myself to take my child to school every day. When I got back, I just sat there staring at the empty house. Chan, you cowered at home like a sinner. Don't even dare to go out the door. Beard is messy, unshaven. I've lost a lot of weight. We sold the Riverview apartments. Sold those 2 shops at low prices again. The company was also transferred away. Gathered a large sum of money to pay off the debt first. Usury and bank loans, but it's still not enough. There's still a shortfall of over 5 million that can't be covered. Those friends who used to revolve around us. I heard something bad happened to us. Everyone stayed well away from each other. The phone isn't being answered. No reply to the message. Chan Yu went out to look for a job. But he's been away from the industry for too long. I'm getting older too. Can't be satisfied with either the high or the low. Most of the resumes sent out go unheard. To make money, he started driving for ride-hailing services. Leave home at 6 o'clock every morning. Didn't come back until the middle of the night. Running for over 10 hours a day. The money earned isn't enough to cover the interest. Once, in the dead of night, I'm going to bring him dinner. Saw his car by the roadside. He fell asleep with his head on the steering wheel. There's half-eaten instant noodles on the passenger seat. I'm standing outside the car, looking at this person who was once full of ambition and energy. A man who's somewhat famous in the cross-border community. Now, life has worn me down to this state. Tears kept flowing uncontrollably. I didn't wake him up. I remember when we first started our business, cramped into a rental apartment of just over 10 square meters, eating instant noodles while dreaming of the future. Back then, we had nothing at all. But there's hope. Now we have nothing left. Even hope has become a luxury. I still don't know whether I should get a divorce or not. To be honest, I feel resentful. After all, we've gone through difficult times together. Can't say I don't hate it. His greed and arrogance ruined us. Everything I've worked hard to achieve. Sometimes I gaze at the 𝓘𝓸𝓵𝓵 River outside the window. The lights are still just as brilliant. It's just that those lights no longer belong to us. Every gift bestowed by fate. The prices had already been secretly agreed upon in advance. It turns out that financial freedom is never the end. A slight carelessness. It's an abyss of endless depth.